one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Looking for a motion to approve board minutes.
We gotta do attendance.
Roll call, please. I was going to go the other way.
Chairman Scott Tremblay.
Here.
Member Tom Kinsella. Here. Member Todd McClary. Here. Member Linda Rodriguez.
Here.
Member Bill Colombo.
Here.
City Attorney James Mackey.
Here.
City Manager John Duke.
Here. All right, looking for a motion to approve board minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
At this time, we're going to open up with commentary from the general public by show of hands. Seeing no hands, we're going to open up commentary from city management.
Nothing to add, sir.
Anything from the board? First item, there's just a consent agenda. Looking for a motion to approve the item on the consent agenda.
Approve the item on consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Yep. These were all previously approved.
Yes.
Yeah, this is part of the task order.
That's all.
Yes, sir.
The previously approved consent.
Yes, sir.
We okay to vote? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. We're going to move on to board business, which is demolition of 5443 Cody Avenue, which I think we saw the fire department out there knocking the roofs out already in training. But looking for actually going to have Mr. Duke introduce that.
So this is the purchase request for the basically the more expensive property one at 5443 Coty. The one on Old Post, the quote came in at under 10,000, so it doesn't require board approval. I would request a motion to approve the purchase request.
I'm going to open it up for a motion and or discussion.
I have a question. The pricing for the, you said one was already authorized under the $10,000. Does this authorization assume that they're going to be both be completed at the same time, so they're not paying the separate mobilization costs or anything of that nature?
Yeah, that was the assumption of the bidders.
So
Yes.
so this is going at the same time?
Motion to approve demolition of old base, whatever, 5443.
Cody Avenue.
Oh, yeah, I think it.
We have a motion. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Do we have?
Specify that, say, by more demolition.
What's that?
There's SC signature construction of all demolition. She didn't say all demolition.
In the motion, Bill amended the motion, be more specific.
Let's go back and we'll re-motion and revote.
Motion to approve demolition of 5443 Cody Avenue by Paul Demolition.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Gotcha. Old business, I'd like to invite Martin. Welcome.
Thank you.
I see this nice colorful packet in front of me, so it always makes me happy when I see these things coming in.
He was just here to get his invoice.
That's right.
So welcome. I appreciate the updates.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I know you've been patiently waiting, so we appreciate that as well.
No problem, absolutely. My pleasure to be here, Chris Martin with Ayers Associates. So it's been 2 weeks since I was here last providing an overall summary of the project and where we're at. And there's 2 updates since that time. Number 1, the Southwest Florida Water Management District has issued a response to our permit application, and they have tentatively approved the exemption request, commenting on 4 minor comments, including a request for a payment of a permit fee. We do not see any issue with responding to these questions and receiving approval of our exemption request shortly. The other update, the kind gentleman from Duke Energy that were here today provided an update on their photometric design and stated that next Friday they will be issuing their comments on their photometrics, and they mentioned some of the poles we'll have to discuss, perhaps altering the disposition of the sidewalk to maintain that pole infrastructure. So those are the two updates. Plans are in good shape. Swift Mud exemption request is pending approval, should be shortly, and Duke's photometrics will be forthcoming next week.
I do want to add one thing on the electric. I know you were talking about poles, but down there is it's basically a bar district. So when we have hurricanes come through, we really need to have power down there because bars need to function because that's where most of our citizens go before or after hurricanes. So
Understood.
I was trying to figure out whether or not they were gonna bury some of those lines, so we can maintain power down there.
We do not propose. We have not proposed to bury any of the electric lines.
Is that an option?
We won't care when we drunk in the bar.
It's sure. It certainly is an option, and that would be at city's expense, whereas the relocation and the poles will be installed by Duke.
She's gonna be doing Lieutenant Dan.
Thank you for the update.
You are.
Question with those poles.
Mhm.
Would that not only be the electrical, but all the utilities on one pole?
If there's existing utilities on those poles, a joint use pole as was mentioned, they will likely remain on the pole. If the pole locations move to result in the telecommunications or cable infrastructure not being able to be maintained on those poles, it will be up to those specific utilities on how they want to relocate or underground their facilities.
I don't like that. Again, I'm seeing, drive down Bay Boulevard, they put new poles, cut the old ones in half, and it appears it's just going to remain. In our conversations a little bit ago, we're adding, we're taking away what we're trying to do down there. And we'll be adding more poles. I disagree with that. I don't know how much you can control it.
Mhm.
Duke Energy, I mean, if we can't put it underground, the less amount of poles, I think, would be more appropriate.
Agreed, and that was our design approach, is to limit the amount of pole infrastructure in that corridor and community. We do not anticipate an increase in the number of poles, maybe one or two, but the existing poles will be relocated to a different location, closer to the right-of-way or offset to accommodate the proposed improvements.
If you could understand something, just what the law is on public utilities might make, I understand where you're coming, it's just at the other side, you understand. That when a public utility puts up a pole, they say rules about exist for hours now. Pico comes in 100 years ago, puts up a telephone pole, right? Spectrum comes in and they have a cable, okay, cable service, or BIOS or something, above ground, used to be above ground. They just put a cable. The state has decided, that, the law is that, well, we're not gonna make Spectrum put up a pole, they get to use the public utilities pole. Okay, so all of those services that are on those poles, they have a right to be there. Duke can't take their pole down if someone else is using it. You understand what I mean? So just, yeah, so in other words, I had a cable line that comes from a pole, there's a small pole they had there that they use some of their lines on, and it's going there. They can't just disconnect the service to my house for Spectrum. You understand me? Or say the Spectrum go underground, they have to leave the pole. Do you see what I'm saying? Because otherwise you would have 7 poles in front of your house for every different public utility. So the first one there has to let everybody else use their pole. So when if there's a pole there that, that they're on, they can't take it down. But a lot of them are just lines. I bet 80% of them are just lines not being used, and people don't need them anymore. We don't use the cable that's on ours, and so we're going to call them. They'd be get rid of it. He wants to get rid of the pole. Does that make sense?
It does.
To help you know what the law is and why that's going on, you know what I mean? You can't force those others to go underground. That's not.
It doesn't make me happy.
I got it. I'm just trying to tell you. But I'm saying, I guess my point is, most people that have lines like that in their houses, very few, have lines coming in. Everything's, there's very few cable providers, around. And,
I'm not necessarily sure though, if somebody doesn't own those old telco lines, and they still have the right to keep them up.
Yeah, that's right. They're not gonna make them put it
I mean, it's not Verizon anymore, but they might have just sold.
there's all kinds of rules around that, yeah. And that was they do that with towers. They're not gonna put 5 poles.
They're compromised DSL right now or something like that. We don't even know what's up there.
They're not supposed to all hear something?
No, we can't make them very long.
No, but you could make them
What?
take down the line if you bug them enough. The giant lines go underground in one of the buildings, so they own a couple of them. Matter of fact, up in Newport Richie, and they still have cables. I don't use at my tennis. I bugged them enough, they came and took it down. Most people do is just cut them down. Again, I'm not telling you to do that, but I'm saying is,
Pretty safe.
a good portion of the cables aren't being used. They just leave it there in hopes that someone that moves in might want spectrum or something. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, so that's why it's that way, so. I don't go either way, I'm just telling you, it's not like some bad or something.
And I may add, if the city so desired, they could design and construct underground conduit, manholes, and discuss that with the utilities on.
Then we have to pay for it, and you want to quadruple your cost.
We're gonna need it for lighting.
There will be poles for the street lighting as well. It's an option, though. So if we see in the package, the graphics that you see there, the intent of these graphics is to convey the general theme of the Cody River Landing, such as the fisherman village vibe we have strived to brand this area. The photos are a selection of paver materials. And on the first screen here, on the first page, not sure which version you may have, but there's benches and you see the brick pavers. We have proposed permeable pavers for all the sidewalks on the Cody River Landing. Two benefits to the permeable pavers. It will likely abate stormwater runoff and perk into the ground and facilitate the drainage pattern in the corridor. And two, the variety and options of colors, patterns is tremendous when you look at the types of permeable pavers on the market. Alternatively, the other option is concrete, and concrete you could stamp and color concrete in a variety of ways. But what we have proposed is the permeable pavers.
One of the things that helps us get the exemption is that we are looking at the permeable pavers, I would think.
That was a component of it, but I believe the exemption could be maintained, obtained even without
That's
that.
what I'm trying to figure out.
Yes. So that's some of the options you see, the pavers. Also some of the hardscapes such as trash receptacles, the benches that we've proposed with an antique wood look. And then on the second page, you'll see the scientific name of the plantings that we have proposed as part of the landscape plan throughout the corridor, Bayview Street, Cody, and Treadway. Some of the boardwalks you see there are the style of staining and patterns that we may propose for the boardwalk. Currently, we've proposed timber, unfinished, unstained. But the options you see there are on the table. And what we would recommend for the bid form, the cost of pavers is anticipated to be 30 or 40% above concrete. So we have classified a certain number of bid items that we would propose as an alternate. That way, when construction bids come in, the council could be informed on the cost of those improvements and make a selection at that time.
The pavers and the concrete, is the maintenance going to be the same on the two?
Close to the same. Pavers a little bit more, but comparable. Mm-hmm. One of the options, I believe on page 2, we discussed LED string lighting that may be proposed to enhance the Bayview Street from Treadway to Cody, particularly for nighttime events.
We decorate for Christmas, you got all the poles
I
up.
noticed there ain't
See,
a pole.
there's a use for those poles.
There's not a pole in any one of these pictures.
So, they're all underground here.
Yeah.
One of the questions that I was gonna ask you, as a practical matter, probably one of the biggest issues in that area is flooding because of where it sits.
Does it make a hell of a beans difference whether or not we use pavers versus stamped concrete in terms of flood abatement down there?
I don't have the quantitative data to analyze that, but in general, permeable pavers have the likely result of abating excessive runoff in the area.
Not if you're 5 feet underwater, though. It's not.
Right.
We're talking right.
No, just on a day-to-day, when it rains every day.
Clouds of surge to come up through the permeable.
Okay.
So
I would anticipate permeable pavers abating localized ponding in the short term, 6 to 12 hours after a rain event.
Your day-to-day rainstorms is what I'm getting at.
I would believe it would provide a benefit to abate flooding.
If the river comes up in the
it's
street,
3 feet, over there, it's not gonna matter.
All bets are off.
Every day, those are all things that I was trying to organize, for or against. So. Very good. Did you guys have anything? No. All right.
So as far as decisions go, usually as engineers, we would outline the performance criteria for the paver, such as we want this color palette and we like this pattern or orientation. We go out to bid and then let the contractor select the exact manufacturing style and present shop drawings and examples to select at that time.
This is some of the stuff that we had asked the CAC to be involved in. So, really keep that in mind that we have gone to them, we've been on Facebook about it too. So we just need to keep that. And if we're going, that committee takes it to the residents, so it's not like they can sit there and make a decision. Well, they could, I guess, if they wanted to, that's their choice. But it was to take it to the residents of Fort Ritchie to help make those decisions. So that doesn't turn around that quick. So I don't know what your turnaround time in the future would be for that. We need to make sure that that's very specific so that we can.
If you're in the shop drawing phase, we will likely not have months to do that decision.
Well, I guess you're right. And the main thing that was just us doing it, and we did take months to do that. But if we're given a time frame, we have to have this in by 2 weeks. I mean, right now we meet monthly, but that doesn't mean we couldn't call in, Angel couldn't call another meeting and move this along quickly if possible. And if they can't do it, then they can't do it. Then
Yeah, I'm just saying from a contractual perspective, a lot of times a contractor will say, well, you have 14 days to respond to the shop drawing, or else you're representing a delay to the job. And we don't want to be caught, because then you have general conditions and all kinds of other things that
Can we get more than 14 days?
Huh?
He's saying, for example,
No, I understand.
short periods of
Yes.
time.
Yeah.
But I think he'll give us, or give our city deadlines and we'll just.
I mean, it's gotta be certain criteria. I mean, I don't know.
I mean,
There's not 3,000 choices of papers.
generally you want,
Well,
there
okay.
is.
Okay.
Hint, and then the decision is made out of those 3 options.
And they're gonna have an idea of what's gonna look good because they've constructed a lot of these, so.
Stipulation, every paper that is to be considered, he has to personally carry in an exam. And that will keep the numbers out.
Just one.
No, 3x3. I want a 3x3 square.
Set a pattern up out here.
Yeah, somehow, yeah, I want all this.
But they've designed these, so they're gonna know the handful of patterns that are popular that other cities and other
Sure.
places use, and
Color palette and all that good stuff.
If you go beyond ABC, we have an issue.
Understood.
There you go.
All right. I think that's all I had, so I didn't. And as always, I'm grateful that you're here and you're working with us, and it's nice to see you.
Likewise.
You got dates, so he's happy.
happy.
Yeah.
There we go. Appreciate it, Mr. Mayor.
The only one who has to be stopping is gonna have all kinds of poles on it.
Any old business? Looking for motion?
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Aye.